Hi, everyone out there, both listening and watching. This is Steve Bennet-Martin, and I am the host of the new podcast that you are now listening to, Senior Living on the Suncoast. This is the first senior-centered podcast to assist us all as we navigate the complex systems of aging together up and down the Suncoast of Florida. As I mentioned earlier, I am your host, Steve Bennet-Martin, and my mission is to help make sure that the rest of your life really and truly is the best of your life. And for this episode, I'm going to start out by introducing myself a little bit more thoroughly so that you have an idea of who I am as we move forward in the show and give you an idea of kind of what the format will be as I attempt to launch a podcast amidst the COVID-19 pandemic that is currently facing not only our country but our entire world. So it should be quite interesting as I start this journey around this time on how I will pivot and change direction for some of the guest star interviews and videos I had planned, but we will do the best to make sure that we're getting you this information as soon as I can get it ready and available for you, because a lot of these are tools that will really help us now more than ever. But to begin, a little bit about me. Like I mentioned, my name is Steve Bennet-Martin. I grew up as Steve Bennet, and I grew up on Long Island, New York, and rather than growing up as a mama or a daddy's boy, I was always Grammy's little boy. I've always loved seniors, and the first senior I ever loved was my Grammy, Louise Gulick, and she would be the person when I woke up in the morning and got ready for school. I wanted to go over and bring her a newspaper and see her before school. And after school, if I needed help with my homework, I wanted to go over to her house. I wanted to help her with dinner. I wanted to be with her every chance I got. I was blessed enough to have her grow up around the corner from me, so I got plenty of Grammy time. But that's where I developed my love for seniors that still exists well into today. Meanwhile, during my high school career, my dad wanted to make me responsible, and I thank him now that he did. On like my 14th birthday, he took me to the local YMCA, and I got a job as a swim instructor. And that's when I discovered my love for teaching and educating, starting off with swimming lessons, which was just natural at the Y. But taking it from there in college, when I went to SUNY Albany, I did study both psychology and education with the plan to eventually become a teacher, because I fell in love with helping others learn and helping share information, because from a young age, I've always felt I've been gifted at being able to take these complex things and reword it in a way that could help others. I was always the one with the perfect grade average in high school, but so I would spend my extra time helping my peers, helping my friends do better. And so I was always a natural born teacher and instructor. And I just wasn't really sure at the time. Everyone kind of just said, well, if you're a teacher, you become a teacher. And I didn't realize until after I graduated college and was working with the Institute of Reading Development, traveling all over, that while that is definitely one way that you can teach and get experience, there are many other jobs and passions in which you can be a teacher, and I wanted to try and find a way to combine that with my love for seniors, especially after my Grammy's passing and my move down to Sarasota, Florida. I wanted to make sure that I can kind of honor her in some way. I know that I started off doing the closest thing I could find to something I had up north, which was working at New Health Corp, selling natural vitamin supplements, which is similar to what I did at New Vitality, selling natural health products. And the idea was to help seniors. After a while of working there, as much as some of the products were amazing and did wonderful work, their raspberry ketone flush helped me shed so much weight, I became manorexic in the best way possible. Just kidding. I am a healthy weight now and happy with myself. But yes, that was quite an effective product. But after a while, you start with these natural products that come with the heftier price tag. You're wondering if these really are supposed to help everyone. Wouldn't they be made available for all? I started to feel like Eleanor from The Good Place. And so I wanted to take a note from my boyfriend at the time, now husband, and try working directly with seniors hands-on. And so I was lucky enough to get a job at Windsor Reflections, which is a local memory care assisted living community in town in Lakewood Ranch. And I started off as the customer service associate, which might sound like I was selling you computers and iPad products, because it is like the same job title I had at Best Buy. But instead it actually was more of a business office manager, but this great opportunity for me, being newer in the field of senior living, to learn every aspect of senior living from the ground up. Not just running the business office and doing the payroll and the hiring and the HR and all of the operation work, but that when our maintenance guy needed help, that I was able to help out him and learn the maintenance side of running a facility, that I was able to help with the kitchen, that I was able to help with the caregivers who are just doing amazing work day in and day out. They don't get paid enough. They don't get recognized enough. These people, especially in the memory care communities, where they are doing things that I wouldn't have even done for my Grammy, even though I loved her more than anything. And these people are doing it for virtual strangers day in and day out. And so getting to see how all of these roles operate was just an amazing experience that I'll thank that company, Legend Senior Living, for forever. And while I was working there, I was so determined to run my own building one day that they helped me get my core certifications. So I did learn all the state rules and regulations, take the test, and pass, so that one day I could become an executive director for an assisted living in town. However, right after my passing of the certification, I also managed to get an opportunity to transition into a sales role, which I considered more of a challenge, but more of an immediate step up, and one that I decided to take. And it was a great learning experience because, honestly, at that time, I really did feel like I knew everything that there was to learn about senior living from the inside of the building, but I didn't really know much about our community. And so I took this position as a challenge, and it ended up being more challenging than ever because, for those of you who didn't know me before the past year or two, I was severely introverted for the most part, unless you were one of the very specific people in my inner circle that happened to get to know me past that that outside roughness. But it is something that I had to work on actively in my sales role. I remember the first couple networking communities I went to where I was like terrified, standing in the corner just watching everyone, not knowing who to talk to or what to do. But it did help me get out of my shell. My time there working in sales helped me become more of the extroverted social butterfly that I am today, to the point now where the idea of not getting out there and being involved in the community is driving me insane. Not actually, but almost, because I just miss my peopling. I miss my friends that I consider my network and my coworkers and my experts and people that I want to see and talk with. I miss seniors and working with them, but I understand at this time it's important to distance ourselves with the virus going around. However, at that time, while I was working in sales, I got this wonderful opportunity to work with Omnicare, which is a branch of CVS that sells the pharmacy services that you get at CVS Pharmacy to assisted living communities throughout the state of Florida. And I started them right after a really rough time in their operations history. And so that gave me a chance to really get my thick skin as I was walking into communities and being walked right back out. But it was an amazing experience traveling the entire state of Florida, being the statewide sales rep. It was an amazing experience because I got the opportunity to step in virtually every single assisted living in the state of Florida as of 2017, 2018, which I know that with the rate that they build, that can't be said nowadays, but as of 2 to 3 years ago, I can honestly say that I had been in almost every assisted living in the state. And it was just eye-opening to the resources that we had, not only in my own backyard with Sarasota and Bradenton and Lakewood Ranch and the options we have in our senior living community, but also in our neighboring cities like down south, Cape Coral and Fort Myers, and going up north to St. Pete and Tampa. Like, these were the areas when I would go out that I would find comfort in the communities, where I would know that our seniors are cared for, that they have the resources that they need if they knew where to find them. There were other parts of Florida that I would travel to that I would feel very uncomfortable leaving a loved one I really cared about in any of their communities, just because they didn't have the same options, the same resources, the same standards that we have here. And so we are blessed on the Suncoast, and that really helped open my eyes to it. Of course, having a traveling position, that as I was nearing my 1-year anniversary and looking at more weeks where I was gone Monday through Thursday or Monday through Friday than I was at home with my now husband, knowing that we were going to be welcoming a child into our lives eventually, as we had gone through the parenting classes. I wanted to try and come back home, and I got this wonderful opportunity to work with Savannah Grand of Sarasota, which is a local assisted living community, nice, small, home-like community. And that, I would say, is when I really felt welcomed home in a way that I wasn't expecting. I had anticipated, after my time away, traveling the state, not really able to network locally or get to keep in contact with not only my professionals, but my even friends and family that I had lost contact with during this time as a road warrior. But they welcomed me back with open arms. I had wonderful people like Cindy Zimmerman, and Pam Barron from the JFCS, who when I first saw them and they were like, "You're back," it was so welcoming and so unexpected that it just only got better from there. My time at Savannah Grand is when I really made and created this network, of professionals I consider now my friends and resources should I ever run into any problem related to seniors that I can't answer myself, which luckily isn't that frequent, but when it happens, I know that I have a lot of resources available to me that can help, and I wouldn't have gotten those had it not been my time at Savannah Grand coming home and finding those resources. However, I did realize after a while that my passion is for more outside networking. But I got this opportunity with Denise Strabick at Senior Crossroads of Florida to really learn the ins and outs of navigating every aspect of senior living for any senior, not just those in assisted living, but those in their own home with complicated care needs, those in skilled nursing facilities, those in rehabs, those in hospitals. I even worked with children with complex care needs and health issues, and it was just this wonderful, intense experience of learning everything I could about navigating all of these systems in as soon as time as possible, because I had these 10 to 12 people that were ultimately my responsibility, and Denise was an amazing resource, and during my time working with her, she helped me learn what I feel was like decades worth of information that was downloaded into my brain over this intense, collegiate level masterclass course of being a care manager and what that means and how to work with all of these systems and how they all work together and how to get what you need to be an advocate for our seniors in the community. I mean, she changed my life more than she ever could. However, at this time, we also saw the writing on the wall that our adoption, which we'd been 3 years almost in the running, was finally about to happen. We almost were at the point where we found our forever daughter. And so as much as I loved working with Denise and the knowledge and experience she gave me, and I can only imagine what I could have learned had I stayed there longer, I needed to take care of my family first and get a good job with great health benefits. And I'm so thankful that I did, because it led me to Approved Home Health, which I can say right now is the best job I've ever had. My boss, Lori, is amazing and wonderful and has given me the freedom to sell the way that I need to with this great product of these caregivers that really care, and this network of care as part of Stratum, part of the Tidewell family, where no matter where they are in their life, we can help provide those caregivers and companions that seniors or loved ones need. And I have amazing benefits, but I'm also able to offer this public this amazing resource where I'm not just one of a million home health companies out there, but I'm the only home health company that's CHAP accredited and nonprofit, but also part of this network of care where if they need skilled health, I can help them, with Avidity. If they need hospice, we can help prepare them for that talk and get them set up, that we have these mobile physicians. And so it's this great network that I'm really happy to be a part of. And it was the perfect timing, because that's at the same time when we were blessed with the adoption of our daughter, Priscilla. And between those two things going on at once, I also was crazy enough, on top of having a relatively new job and a new family, I also launched a new podcast. But that was the amount of freedom that Lori gave me and the inspiration that she gave me, as well as the experience that I had of going on a vacation with my husband to Las Vegas, not normally leaving my backyard for any reason other than something else on the East Coast. And so driving from the Las Vegas to the Grand Canyon and just realizing how small my world was and how much bigger I wanted it to be, I decided to launch this podcast, and it came out January 1st. It was A Lifetime of Happiness. It's still going on strong. It is my passion project. It is certainly something that I will continue on even with this podcast being my focus for the near future, and that is because A Lifetime of Happiness is what really helped me fall in love with not only listening to podcasts, which I did when I was working as a road warrior for Omnicare, but also as a podcast creator and producer. By doing A Lifetime of Happiness, I got the opportunity to go to PodFest, and that experience changed my life of finding my people, finding my tribe, and realizing that, yes, my life is about helping seniors. It's always been about helping seniors. But I also learned at PodFest, being around these other supportive people and being around these other creative minds, that I also realized that part of my purpose for being here is to podcast as well and to help people share their voices and help give these answers to the questions that our community needs answered, but they don't always know to ask. And so I'm really happy to have taken that all together and taken all of this experience from the start of my career working at the YMCA to the crappy retail jobs I did during college to everything I shared with you about now and combine it into this podcast, Senior Living on the Suncoast. And so I'm very excited that in the very near future, we are going to be releasing regular content that includes news and events. During the news and events, each episode I plan to discuss current events related to senior living on the Suncoast, including educational workshops and health fairs and symposiums and other resources for education where you might be able to attend in person or virtually right now that can help you get the tools and resources as you are working and preparing on aging or caring for a loved one that might be aging. While also talking about news headlines and how they might be affecting us. I'm not always the most news savvy person, so this will be a challenge for me to really start to learn about what's going on not only in my direct community, but more of the news that might be affecting our community, and I look forward to sharing it with all of you. I also know that podcasting is a great platform for binge listening, and so we will keep that relatively short and also keep information up on our websites and social medias for those people so that if you are catching up, you can just catch up quicker than usual. We also will then dive into our main topic discussion. I will do my best to bring you an expert as often as possible. Of course, if I don't, it's because I'll be very confident that I am the expert in that topic, but I always find that two minds are better than one, and it's always more fun to have someone to bounce off of. And so I do plan on bringing guests regularly to talk about topics related to senior living on the Suncoast. I definitely want to start off by covering the basics. You know, what is assisted living? What is memory care? What is private duty home health? Like, what are these common definitions that you should know about to kind of know what's to come, because this will lay the groundwork for what will become these high-level discussions. But I want to make sure that you know when I start rattling off all these abbreviations going forward that you understand what I mean, because I know that's one of the most intimidating things is when you start navigating this process oftentimes in an emergency where your loved one might have, had a fall and broken their hip, but now they're in the hospital and they have dementia and they can't go home, and you have to find a community to have them move into. And you don't know anything, and the first time that the doctor starts talking to you, he starts talking about ALFs and memory cares and SNFs and rehabs, and you don't know, or home healths, and the home health, some are talking about companions and some are talking about nursing and PT and OT, and what are those? And, it can be, even if you know one or two of those words from your experience, you rarely will know all of them. And so I want to start by just providing those basics before we get to the higher level concepts. And of course, I want this podcast to be as interactive as possible. And so I really am planning and expecting to keep a question and answer section going so that as we are recording and as we are releasing new content, you guys can be emailing me and posting on our Facebook page and writing in or calling in and asking questions about senior living, because I am privileged enough to not only have a lot of these answers, I also have these amazing professionals that I work with and that I've been working with for years that have, between all of us, we have so much experience that if I don't know an answer, I know that I can get you the answer. And so the best and easiest way to get those questions over to me would be our email address, which is www.happylifepod@gmail.com. I also have kept that Happy Life Pod through all of our social medias like Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And that is our main website as well, www.happylifepod.com. If you haven't gotten it yet, that's happylifepod.com. The reason why Senior Living on the Suncoast has that as our website is because it is part of the Happy Life Pod production company, which I have started with, A Lifetime of Happiness, and is now branching out into other podcasts. So whether you have a podcast that's local or positive based and you're interested in joining my network of podcasters, or if you're interested in starting a podcast of your own, you can always reach out to me for that as well. In the meantime, everyone, I really hope that you can stay happy, stay healthy and safe during this time of the COVID-19 pandemic. Excuse me. And I hope that until the next time, that the rest of your life really is the blah, blah, blah. No. Until next time, everyone, stay happy, and thanks for listening to Senior Living on the Suncoast.